I've tagged today's show Living Well with Lupus: Awareness, Culture, and Hope. Now, for those of us who might not be familiar, never heard of the word, or who heard of the word but don't really know what it means, lupus is one of those conditions that many people may have heard of but may not fully understand. It can affect the body in complex ways, and for many folks, it brings fatigue, pain, brain fog, uncertainty, and emotional strain, often while they still appear well to the outside world. So today, it's not only about understanding lupus medically, it's also about the lived experience behind it. It's about culture, identity, it's about resilience, support, health inequalities, and what it means to keep finding hope while living with a long-term health condition. It helps us also to explore, to help us explore this. I'm extremely delighted to welcome a passionate community health champion, keynote speaker, Lupus Warrior, chronic illness advocate, and co-founder of Lupus Hub CIC, Celena McDaniel, to the show this afternoon. Good afternoon, Celena, and many thanks for coming on the show today. Okay, Celena, I can't hear you. If you can just try that again.
I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Charles. Extremely honored to be invited. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So before we move on, let me just quickly introduce you properly to the listeners. So now, so as I said, Celena is a keynote speaker, Lupus Warrior, chronic illness advocate, NHS Expert Patient, NHS Expert Patient, cultural awareness advocate, author, spoken word artist, and award-winning co-founder and director of the Lupus Hub CIC and Chilaxation CIC. Now, Celena has lived with chronic autoimmune illness for more than 37 years. Diagnosed with lupus at the age of 25, her journey has included multiple health challenges, personal loss, resilience, humor, honesty, and hope. Through the Lupus Hub CIC, she creates culturally rooted spaces for support, advocacy, education, and healing, helping others understand that living with lupus is not just about the medical condition, it's also about identity, energy, work, family, emotions, community, and dignity. So once again, Celena, it's a real pleasure and welcome to the Health, Wellness, and Wellbeing Hour. All right, so let's get into it. So Celena, what would you like most people to actually understand about you as a person before they hear your health journey?
Oh, goodness me. Oh, what a way to start. What would I like them to understand about me before the condition? That the condition is a part of life, but not my whole identity. I think a lot of us come from backgrounds where, it's very much considered semi-taboo to speak about the fact that you're ill. And unfortunately, it can be something that presents itself before they actually see the person behind it. I think, I'm me. I have lupus, it doesn't have me.
I hear that one. Yeah. Okay. Well put. Thanks. So now you've lived with the condition for many years, 37 years. So please take us back to the beginning of your journey, and what life was. Well, we've said what life was like before you, but yeah, just further expand on that. What life was like briefly before we move on.
So lupus. The 37 years that's mentioned is the twin journey of myself and my sister.
Okay.
So my baby sister was actually diagnosed with lupus back in 1987. And that was just life-changing. And it was...
Sorry, was she diagnosed before you or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Which in itself was very strange. She was only diagnosed when she was 7.5.
Oh, wow.
And in those days, I mean, back in the 80s, it was literally a miracle that she got diagnosed because she didn't fit any of the parameters
Mm,
for a lupus diagnosis, and
mm,
they knew
mm.
next to nothing about lupus as it was. So, it was an appointment at the GP for myself that we had gone to. And, 'cause she'd been experiencing some kind of weird feelings and joint pains and such. And when she went there, for whatever reason, they did a urine test, and whatever the nurse or the doctor saw, they said,
Mm.
we're going to the hospital. And for whatever reason, thank God,
Yeah.
they found out, quite quickly that's what
Okay.
she was dealing with. Watching my sister live with lupus, it was, I mean, thinking back on it now, it was surreal because it's
Mm.
just, as I've put it before, it was just one more bow or one more string to the crazy bow that was our life at the time.
Yeah.
And we just got on with it because there was nothing else you could do. Thank God we were supported in quite a lot of ways, but watching my baby sister go from
Mm.
Miss Slender to blowing up, it
Wow.
was like, wow, this is what the drugs can really do to you. And you didn't know when she had a flare, whether it's to do with the medication or with the actual illness itself.
Yeah.
It was, it would have been more devastating if my sister hadn't been who she was,
Mm.
because it didn't matter that she was living with this illness that nobody knew about, nobody knew how to treat,
Mm-hmm.
and she had changed so much in such a small space of time.
Mm.
That's what I would assume emotionally, but physically as well.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
lived with it like an absolute warrior,
Yeah.
like an
Yeah. Yeah.
absolute warrior. As
Yeah.
I said, she truly gave me the template for when
Mm.
lupus decided to turn up in my life a
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
years later,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was, I think when I got diagnosed, I already knew I had lupus. That's a whole different
Mm-hmm.
scenario.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I remember sitting back and thinking to myself, wow, I got diagnosed at 25. My baby sister had to deal with this at 6, 7. And I'm
Wow.
like, look at
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
How the hell did you manage that?
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
really did,
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
So yeah, my journey into lupus is a journey of two halves in that
Yeah.
respect. Because,
Yeah. I
I've
totally
kind of got to
understand
see
that.
my sister begin
Mm-hmm.
with that, and
Mm-hmm.
then yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
myself.
Yeah. What were the specific symptoms that maybe she was going through at that time?
So I remember it was around Christmas time, and she was sitting on the floor, legs folded, playing on the
Mm.
blanket,
Mm.
and she goes, "I can't move my legs." My dad's like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I can't move my legs." And honestly, she couldn't move her legs. And it
Wow.
got to the stage where she had to start being carried up and down the stairs. Her voice changed. Um, and then she started to get these weird lumps on the back of her hands,
Mm.
and she was in pain. And I think that went on for maybe about a week or so. And my mum just said, you know what, just hang on because your sister's got an appointment on such and such day. We'll
Okay.
just all go to the GP together when
Yeah.
such things were allowed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, she had lost weight. And I think when we went to the GP, as I said, they had a look at her. And as I said, for whatever reason, they gave her a urine test. And now looking back, it was probably because she had protein in her urine, which meant that
Mm.
her kidneys were affected.
Okay.
How they got to lupus, again, could only be God, because that
Yeah.
could have been anything.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So you yourself, so you were diagnosed back. You were 25 then, isn't it?
Yeah, so that was back in
So
2000.
do you remember about the moment, you know, when that information came across, and and not only about the moment, but how did it change the way you saw your body, your future, your identity?
I knew I had lupus before the daft people diagnosed it, to put
Okay,
it bluntly.
okay.
I was initially, well, I have a twin, if not quadruple diagnosis,
Hmm.
but one of them is rheumatoid arthritis. So that presented,
Wow,
um,
from 25.
oh no, before that.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, rheumatoid arthritis came up when I was about 19. And I managed to get it under control using
Hmm.
some herbal
Okay.
medication.
Yeah.
But then that herbal medication had originally come from America. It was pre-Amazon days. We don't know where to get it. It ran
Hmm.
out.
Hmm.
And then fortunately my sister passed. So that just sent the rheumatoid arthritis into lava mode, to put it bluntly. Literally all of my joints look like your t-shirt, the red part. Literally. I could map every joint in my skull.
Wow.
Because I knew we were through pain.
Yeah.
And I had already been diagnosed with the rheumatoid arthritis and had been given medication. I didn't like the way it made me feel, hence the herbal medication, which worked. That ran out. My sister passed, double whammy, everything went crazy. And I've got a 3-year-old. So we have got no choice, go back to the hospital. And I was given this medication, which we now found out that has the wonderful side effects of giving lupus-like symptoms.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So when that happened, and I only found out because, thank God, I'm a reader, I actually picked up a book and found out, oh, hang on a second. And I'd been complaining about these different side effects I was getting, and I was being fobbed off, basically. When I was finally diagnosed, it was because I had to fire the original doctor. He refused to diagnose me.
Okay, wow. What reason did they give for refusing to diagnose?
I was supposed to be a wonderful test subject for his book. He gave me the medication deliberately. Yeah, because when I was reading up on the medication, there's notes in there. Don't give, it's an old medication, too much side effects, too much issues with it, more suitable, newer medications.
Yeah.
So it was deliberate. It was deliberate. Wow. And basically he basically wanted me off the planet so that he could get his research published. Wow. Oh, no, his research pieces.
Pieces, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
And when I got finally taken into hospital after confronting him and my GP with the book, it then became literally a battle for my life in hospital.
Yeah.
Because he refused to diagnose me, and all he wanted was this biopsy and that biopsy and this blood test and that blood test. And I got to realize, me and you both know we have lupus. Why are you not diagnosing me? Okay, so there's something else at play here. Okay.
Yeah.
And bedridden, 5.5 stones, can only move my eyes, and I'm talking literally. I had to be picked up and carried anywhere I needed to go. If I wanted to sit up, I had to have somebody pull me up. Me and this man ended up in the fight of my life.
I can imagine.
Flat on my back in the hospital.
I can so imagine. So what was it? Was it pain, stiffness of the body? What was preventing you from being able to move?
Weakness.
Just weakness. Okay.
Total. I think I probably was on, when you see your battery, your phone battery, and it says plug in the charger now. I was probably there. I was probably there. Wow. It was weird. The joint pain took a back seat when lupus turned up. And that's one thing I can say. Give me lupus, don't give me rheumatoid arthritis. It was horrid. It was horrid. And it's, at the same time, as weird as it sounds, I understood that it was just a necessary part of my journey. As weird as it sounds. It was something I had to go through because there was something called things I needed to learn. And apparently that's the only way I would have got said learning, and it was amazing. It was horrid and it was amazing.
And that seems to be maybe a whole new conversation. You and the GPs, a whole new conversation. But okay, but let's move on a bit. So you've got the diagnosis, and I can imagine a variety of emotions, that you might have been going through then. So, but at what point do you think that you began to simply survive, move beyond surviving, beyond the diagnosis? Because you've got to learn how to live with it, isn't it? You've got to learn how to thrive regardless. So how did you begin that journey?
I think for me, again, because I'd seen what my sister had gone through, and I'm very much one of those people that like to investigate, and I'm very particular and fascinated with the human body. So, even when my sister was going through what she was going through, if I could find literature on lupus, I would read it. One thing I can say is I was thankful my organs wasn't affected.
Okay.
I think I can say I started with a lupus diagnosis with relief. Not even relief.
Mm.
Relief. Because you know what,
Okay.
I've got a diagnosis now because I
Yeah,
already
yeah,
knew what it
yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah.
I was being fought about what it was, and it was like,
Mm.
just give me the bloody diagnosis and let me go
Yeah,
home and start my life.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and as I said, because none of my organs were affected, I had to say thank God.
Yes,
It was just
yeah.
more about, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we need to now clean this body in however
Mm.
we need to do
Mm.
so and
Yeah.
just build it back up.
Mm. 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 Okay. So please let's look at the what actually lupus is.
Mm.
So for people listening,
Yeah.
who they may have heard of the word, but maybe they don't fully understand it, how would you explain lupus in simple everyday language?
Lupus is when your immune system gets overexcited and confused.
Mm.
And as well as attacking the pathogens, the germs, the viruses, the bacteria, it can then turn around and attack any particular organ of your body
Okay.
also.
Okay.
And in doing so, it causes inflammation, which then causes damage.
Mm.
And as you can imagine, if it affects an internal organ, it's going to have a knock-on effect on other organs
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it produces strain
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it's
Mm-hmm.
not working properly.
Mm.
Um, it's a really painful illness
Mm.
and it causes fatigue like nothing I could
Wow.
ever begin to describe
Wow.
to somebody who's never experienced it. You know,
Mm.
it's 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 just horrid and it affects mainly women
Mm-hmm.
and it also affects mainly women of African or origin or Asian
Mm-hmm.
origins.
Okay.
And to add insult to injury, as I love to say, one of the main things that actually causes your lupus to flare is sunlight.
Sunlight.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Could you explain that a bit further?
The UVB or the UVA rays
Mm.
in it actually activates your immune system.
Okay.
So in doing so, it's just going to be in a heightened state and it's
Mm.
already in a heightened state. So
Mm.
then
Mm.
it then turns around and if, as I said, your confused white blood cells are already in a
Yeah.
heightened state and they're vigilante mode, just smashing and grabbing anything that they can do.
Yeah.
Being in
Yeah.
the sunlight can actually activate them to behave even worse,
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
it's that part I think is one of the most devastating factors of lupus because
Mm.
when you think about it, it's mainly affecting women of black and African and Asian origin.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Traditionally, that's where a lot of people live in very hot, sunshiny
Yeah.
states,
Okay. Okay.
So my heart goes out to those that live in those countries,
Mm.
and has to be in that region or in that particular type of weather pattern with the lupus. It's
Yeah.
very hard to live with.
Okay.
However, I mean, I have to say, maybe I think they said about 75% of people with lupus are actually sun sensitive, to be fair.
Okay.
I kind of fluctuate. And I'm solar powered, so I don't know how it
Yeah.
works for
Yeah.
me, but I had to work out how to get back into the sun
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need it for my energy, and that is the
Yeah.
honest truth. However, if my lupus is flaring, I know well enough to know out of it because it will
Okay.
make it worse.
Okay. So now, I mean, I think potentially there might be a heat wave, isn't it, over this
Yes.
weekend? So for you, how do you manage that kind of weather?
Again, as I said, if my lupus is under control and is not
Mm.
affecting me in any way, oh, I
Yeah.
bake. I'll
Okay.
be out there like a lounge lizard.
Mm.
I will
Mm.
bake
Mm.
happily.
Okay.
However, if I do know I'm out there and I kind of feel maybe a knee start to get a bit achy
Yeah.
or I start to feel a little bit more tired than usual, then I'll say, you
Mm.
know what, let me take time with it and kind of go and hide under a wall.
Mm.
Because
Mm.
luckily I've
Yeah.
got one
Yeah.
that, doesn't get affected by the
Yeah.
sunshine
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it just I think with lupus, if it teaches you nothing, you have to learn to listen to your body.
That's right.
You have to, because everybody with lupus, their journey is totally unique.
Mm. Mm.
Totally unique.
Yeah.
You could have a room with 100 people in there. We may
Yeah.
have fatigue, sun sensitivity, and joint
Mm.
pain in common.
Mm. Okay.
After that, all bets are off.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
that, it can be anything. Some people, it doesn't like their red blood cells. Some people, it doesn't like their toes. Some people, it doesn't like the fluid inside their joints. Some people, it doesn't like their heart. It doesn't like the left chamber of the heart. It doesn't like the eyelashes on the left. It doesn't like your right tooth. It can be so very particular in where it decides that, we don't like it and we are now going to attack that particular organ.
And so you said something really profound there, that people need to understand how to listen to their bodies. So what are some of the symptoms or warning signs that people should not ignore, especially when they keep feeling that something is not quite right in the body?
It's again, lupus is one of those illnesses. They call it the great mimic, and for very good reason. It can literally mimic any illness you can think of. And because there isn't a specific diagnostic test for lupus, this is where the problem starts. So, when I was in hospital, they threw up everything at me. Oh, you've got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. You've got, well, they couldn't say sickle cell because they could clearly see it wasn't that. You've got X, you've got Y, you've got Z. And I'm like, I have lupus. One of the more defining factors when it comes to lupus would be the sun sensitivity. However, as I said, not everybody has that. What I would say is if you have been experiencing fatigue, joint pain, that gets worse in sunshine, definitely go to your GP and have that conversation and mention lupus, because unfortunately, it's not an illness that is very well thought of when it comes to the GPs. It doesn't come to their thought pattern because it's very understudied. It's been very, very understudied by the medical departments, and it's only if, again, a person has a special interest in that as a doctor, maybe a family history, or it's something that, or, family or friend history, then it might be in the back of the mind to say, oh, it might be that. But a lot of the times, some people chase a diagnosis for 10, 20 years.
Wow.
10, 20 years, and even now, and they can only diagnose it by, doing certain tests. And fun and joke aside, it's about whether your immune system is heightened. It's about whether your immune system gets heightened because of hay fever. Your immune system can react heightened because of stress. It can react heightened because you've just come out of the gym. It's a very, very unfortunate set of circumstances when you do get a lupus diagnosis. Well, to got into getting a lupus diagnosis, if you get one, that is for me. Getting the diagnosis was, I would say, 60% of the battle. It's just, when you do think about it, it's very unfair. It is very unfair.
Yeah, of course, very unfair. Yeah, and the people who you said suffer from it the most are the people who might be subjected to a lot of health inequalities. Anyway, we'll get to that shortly. But if someone does keep on going to the doctor over and over, they're being ignored, they're not being given the attention that they need, what should they do? What steps can they take? What practical steps can they take, if they keep on feeling dismissed?
Back in the day, and I say back in the day as in maybe 3, 4 years ago, I would have said, go to another GP. And I still say that now, to be fair, to be perfectly fair. I still say that now. However, in this current time that we're living in, my heart goes out to those that are waiting for a diagnosis or anything like that, because the GPs themselves they've just been devastated as well. Living through what we have in the last couple of years, the symptoms of lupus can mimic stress. Stress can mimic lupus, When you go to your GP, what I would say is, before you even go there, keep a diary. Keep a diary of the symptoms. That is the most important thing. Because when they see written words, I think they kind of process it differently. Unfortunately, when it comes to us culturally, that strong Black woman trope is still very, very, very prevalent. And it's either that's the issue, or you're seeking attention, or you're seeking medication for the wrong reasons. you get to understand that people go into A&E and they tell them that they're in pain. And they will turn around and say to them, okay, we're coming. And I was in an A&E a couple of months ago, and there was a lady literally crying, and you could hear the pain in this woman's voice. And they refused to give her the medication. I had to literally open up the curtain and say, can you not hear the lady crying?
Yeah. Yeah.
She said she needs medication. She's been in here from I've been here, which is the last hour or so, and nobody's come. Why are you not delaying what she needs? And her husband came, and they were speaking in their language, and I heard, sickle cell. So I go, I said, she's having a sickle cell crisis. Will you not give this lady pain medication? And that is when they started to move, so it's just keep on going. And if you can get to see another doctor, do so. If you can't do that, best bet, go to A&E. Honestly, go to A&E. And I think A&E's got a better receptivity to doing the test that needs to be done. And then you actually get referred to the hospital that way. Because I didn't know this, and it was a friend of mine who is a mental health nurse. And she was the one that told me that now the reasons the GP do not want to refer people to the hospitals is because they are the ones that have to pay the fee. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, that explains why when people go to the GPs, they get sent around the roses, but they don't get to go to the hospitals to get the test that they need to get done to find out if there is anything wrong. So go to A&E. Maybe you have to cut out the middleman sometimes if the middleman isn't really helping.
Of course. So lupus is often described as an invisible illness, isn't it? And you've mentioned some of the symptoms, but again, what does that invisibility, what does it look like in real life?
So with rheumatoid arthritis, you will get joint deformations.
Okay.
People can see that. In lupus, you don't get the joint deformations like that, So you will see somebody walking around looking absolutely A-okay, especially if they're not on steroids, because with steroids make you put on weight, and you get it. You can see it in somebody's face. They get what they call the moon face. So you can see that the face is not normally swollen. It's kind of abnormally swollen. You can kind of understand maybe that person's having kidney issues, or they're on steroids. However, if you're not on a medication like that, you look perfectly normal to people, or if you haven't got some kind of physical disability, you look absolutely normal to everybody else. And that in itself is very problematic, because trying to explain to your employer that I can't go outside in the sunshine for team building scenarios because it affects my illness. What are you talking about? You black people come from the sun. Yeah, we do, but at this particular moment, it doesn't really like me.
Absolutely.
So it's just about, for me, raising the awareness, because between us not wanting to speak of our illness for various reasons, it's going to create a lot of the misunderstandings and the scenarios where it can end up being into something that it didn't have to be if you're just spoken clearly or honestly from in the beginning.
And is there anything particular that you think that people should avoid saying to someone living with lupus or any other invisible chronic illness?
For me, what I think the favorite one is, what's wrong with you? That's not the way to ask.
And they know what's wrong.
That's not the way, and unfortunately, some of our people can be wonderfully blunt. I think that's the first one. Don't ask that question, because we already know there's quite a lot wrong, and there could potentially be something else. That's not the way to ask. What else? I would say, if you are going to ask something, ask with compassionate curiosity. I would say that. And what not else to say? Don't tell them to pray for it neither, please. prayer works, believe me, but I'm very sure they said prayer without the works is dead. So please don't tell them just prayer. That doesn't really help in the practical terms of life. I think, those kind of things. Apart from that, I mean, there's some people that, don't recommend, herbal medicine or don't say go and do X, Y, Z. Look, at the end of the day, everybody is unique. And in an acute situation, there's nothing like medical care. There's nothing like if you cut your toe off, go to the A&E. Okay? But I've had many doctors, thank God, in my life who have dealt with chronic illnesses that will tell you straight, look, at the end of the day, helping yourself is going to work out better for you than anything that we can do for you. We can only give you medication and hope that it works. When it comes to chronic illness, what I knew, and thank God in the last couple of years, I've seen become common knowledge, or it's becoming common knowledge, is that any chronic illness, 9 times out of 10, if not more, does have emotional or repressed emotions or unprocessed emotions at the root of it. It's just sitting there, and what you haven't sorted out from 20 years ago, it doesn't go anywhere. It sits in your system, and this is why, expressing to people that have lupus, go do therapy. And if you don't want to go and do therapy, at least start journaling. You have to get it out somehow, because only you know what you went through. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of us that have repressed our memories so wonderfully. We don't remember them. But if you start asking the question and leaving yourself open to that, it will come up. I think it's when you talk about healing and illness, it has to be holistic. It has to be. You can't heal the body if you are psychologically unbalanced. You cannot heal your mentality if your emotions are out of whack.
Of course.
And I think this is now why it's starting to be linked and understood why most autoimmune illnesses hit women. Because we are mainly the ones that like to shove it under the carpet because we don't have time for that. Ain't got time to grieve. The kids need me. Haven't got time to be angry. The house will fall apart. And these things are what now, together with even the environment we're living in now, these are the things that are driving the rates of chronic illness and autoimmune illness in particular to be flying up sky high. So I would say, you have to understand you, going back to what you said.
Absolutely.
Have to understand who you are and understand what triggers you. Even if you're watching something on social media, pay attention to how you feel while you're watching it and after you're watching it. Some people, they're so desensitized because they've ignored their feelings for so long. They don't know what they're dealing with, and then all they know is that their blood pressure's gone sky high, or their kidneys start to play about, or all of me's in pain. You have to understand what you are taking in.
Absolutely. Okay, so now one of your speaking topics is around brain fog and missed memory. So please explain what brain fog feels like and how it affects confidence, work, relationships, and daily living.
You know what? That is such a really great topic, because I was just about to ask you, have I kept on topic with what you've asked me?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's an example of brain fog. What it is for me, even when I was bedridden to the point where, as they would say, I could only move my eyes, my brain worked like a supercomputer.
Wonderful.
It worked like a supercomputer. I could remember everything from everywhere. I could tell you what was said, what the context was, what you was wearing while you said it, and this might have been 32 years ago. A couple of years ago, I want to say about 2023, I just realized I had no patience. And I mean, I know me, every now and then I can get a bit, but this was very sustained. And I'm like, oh no, what's going on here? Why are you so upset with life? You have to start asking yourself these questions. And then this year, well, beg your pardon, last year, I fulfilled a dream by becoming a keynote speaker. So I was doing some training.
Okay.
And I signed up to the training in March last year. A week after I signed up to training, I couldn't remember the second sentence out of two.
Wow.
I kid you not. We would be talking now, and you would tell me two sentences. Don't ask me the second one.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there in front of you. Don't ask me the second one.
Mm.
And that was like, for me, I think that was one of the scariest moments in my life. And I don't scare easy. Lupus was a breeze for that, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was horrible because I'm like, oh my dear Lord, is the lupus attacking my brain? Wow. You start to kind of think of things like that, like, what is going on? And to be honest, it was overwhelm mixed up with post-burnout, which doesn't really go anywhere apparently. It gets better, but I was doing a lot. I was doing way too much. So it was burnout mixed with the lupus, mixed with the wonderful menopause. And honestly, it took my brain and said, we're going on a holiday and we don't know when we'll be back.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, you've got to be joking, Celena. You mean to tell me you decided to go and start this training and you can't remember anything? I had to record everything. Every single thing. If we had training, I had to record everything and play it back and then have to write it out. And even then, I'm not remembering. After I put that down, don't ask me what they were talking about. Wow. You know, it was horrible. It was very, very, very horrible. And it was very worrying for me because I'm thinking to myself, so this is what people with Alzheimer's feel like, you know? It was unsettling. It was very, very unsettling. Thank God I understood what that was about as well. As I said, I was just doing way too much and not looking after myself in the way that I had to. And as I said, the wonderful hormones, which do have, again, a very direct effect on your immune system and how it plays up. Yeah, that definitely caused a wonderful storm. So last year between, March and about June, July, I remember we went for a walk. You know, it has come back, but it is nothing like it used to be.
Wow. And how can loved ones or maybe the workplace, colleagues, employers, how can they respond with more patience and understanding when someone's going through this brain fog?
I think, and this is why I've now begun to do the keynote speaking and what it is I do. I think it is so, so, so very imperative that workplaces and even the GPs actually understand the lived experiences of people living with lupus and other chronic illnesses. It's so important. They actually need training in it. I do believe so. You know, it's important because you've got colleagues that are sitting in your workplace that have been living with lupus for 7, 8 years, and they've never told you because they just know you probably won't understand it anyway. And when you've got to budget your energy and work out whether or not it is worth the time and the energy wasted, and you just understand that if I speak to this person for 2.5 minutes and it's going to be a waste of energy, that's really important and devastating to us when we are living at a 30% of energy of normal people. We've got to be trying to live everyday life with 30%, 40% of the normal energy everybody else has. So when it's like that, it's like gold dust, platinum dust, you know, when you've got to really think about, is it even worth my time? Is it worth my energy? So having somebody else come in and explain to your workplace at a large of what can happen with somebody with a chronic illness, it's really important, you know. And thank God I got to do that last week before last, the 8th of May.
Good. So tell us about that. How did that work
I
out?
got to speak to the staff at Eurostar in King's Cross, St. Pancras. That was absolutely beautiful. It was such a really, really enjoyable day. They had questions, you know, they had questions. And again, you get to find out there are 1 or 2 people in there. Oh, my friend's got lupus. Oh, my cousin's got lupus. Oh, my sister's got lupus. Do you know what it is? No, not really. Have you never asked? Well, you know, we didn't really want to ask because it might be awkward for the person to explain. I said, look, If your child fell over and scraped his knee, what would you ask? Are you okay? How would you ask it? And I said, then ask your friend the same way, or ask your sister the same way. If you don't want to speak about it, cool. But at least you asked. And she knew that it was coming from a place of caring concern,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
So but that was fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic. I really loved it. So, that's where I kind of have to go, because my energy levels got zapped and they haven't come back up to what they were before 2023. And that's why I started to do the keynote speaking and the workshops, because it made more sense and it was more effective for me to spend a shorter amount of time meeting a more people, or affecting or collaborating or speaking with, just a bigger audience, rather than doing the smaller and more intensive. I can't do it again.
Wow.
My body warns me, and lupus is very much like that very strict aunt you have. If you don't listen, if you don't, you don't behave yourself, she's gonna put you in a naughty corner.
That's right.
She'll put you in a naughty corner, and I don't like it, because I got things to do. So yeah, it's about having to learn to work smarter, not harder.
Yes, absolutely. So you delivered your keynote to a group of professionals, I'm assuming. Yeah. So again, now for professionals living with lupus or chronic illnesses, how can they manage fatigue, work expectations, and the pressure of to keep performing?
What you should say is go and speak to your line manager. However, because of the way of the world right about now, everybody under those who are happily up top is under pressure. I get that. But if you can have that conversation with your line manager, reach out to me. Honestly, as weird as it sounds, I can hopefully put a presentation together and you can just give it to your line manager. Have a watch of this. If they think it's something that they need to investigate further, or it's something that would be beneficial to the wider workplace, then show it, but it's about having the conversation and raising the awareness, whatever else happens. Everybody kind of lives their lupus in isolation. As I said, if you've got two people in a workplace with lupus, and one can go outside and one can't, automatically it's going to be a case of, well, so-and-so's got lupus as well. She can go outside. Are you trying to pull my leg? And it's things like that where you have to be very much in a state where it's part of the wider conversation. Because just knowing that you have lupus, okay, that's fine. What does that entail? You have the common symptoms. Yeah, but you said that it's caused you to go deaf. Yeah, because my immune system didn't like the bone in my inner ear. It could go like that. And as I said, going to like Eurostar, the staff were like, wow, the ladies, and they were ladies of color, and we didn't know she couldn't go out in the sun. I said, she's never said. They were like, no, but we always wondered. We thought it was like a fashion statement. She was always in wide brim hats and she was always covered up. But I said, yeah, this is what we have to live with as somebody with lupus. So I would say for professionals, try to have that conversation, try to be more educated about your lupus, and don't be afraid to speak your truth. Don't be afraid to speak your truth, whether it gets understood or not. Even if you get to speak to one person and they get to understand what you're dealing with, that's just one less person that's ignorant of what it is you are living with, And again, and I say professionalism, it's very hard, because when you do speak of an illness such as lupus, and then you do get understood that this is what it entails and this is how it can affect, you immediately then start to worry about how it's going to affect your performance at work. Are they going to turn around and think, you know what, in the next, slash and burn cohort, are you going to be part of that slash and burn? It's difficult. It is very difficult, but it is something, and it's a topic that needs to be raised, So I think just encouraging more workplace awareness of what chronic illnesses can cause. Lupus, yes, but other chronic illnesses, because at the end of the day, any chronic illness is going to have chronic fatigue in it. any chronic illness. Fatigue is going to be a part of it. And that is coming up and it is raising its head and it is destroying the workforce, you know. So having those conversations are necessary if you want to retain your workforce.
You mentioned there that people can get in touch with you. Please let listeners know how they can get in touch with you, find out about your work and so on and so on.
So my email address is info@lupushub.org. So that's info@lupushub.org. And we have the website, which is www.lupushub.org. We have our social medias. Now, I'm going to be very honest. You're going to get more information from us on our social medias. The website needs updating and it has not been done because this year, from last year, I don't know what's happened, but it has been one devastation after another within the whole of our team. I'll be very honest with you. I'm talking medical emergencies, you know, deceased. It's just been one after the other. So the social medias, they stay updated because it's just easy to create your post and you put, you know, but the website, I warn you from now, hasn't been updated in a while. You will find us on Instagram. So that is @LupusHub_. We are on TikTok, the Lupus Hub. We are on Facebook, the Lupus Hub. And we have our YouTube channel, which is, again, Lupus Hub.
Okay, wonderful. And we'll have you share that again before we end the conversation. So let me ask you about misconceptions. So from your experience, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about lupus or also chronic illness?
Oh gosh. What's some of the biggest misconceptions? Again, it's weird. I know there's going to be, you know, the generic questions. Is it catching? No, it's not communicable. You cannot catch lupus. You can't. So that's number one. Other misconceptions that men don't get lupus. Yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do. And I had the misconception, ashamedly, that they didn't have symptoms that were as bad as how it presented in the women. I was totally wrong. Totally wrong. In fact, they are more likely to have kidney issues. You know? So other misconceptions, oh goodness me, that you turn into a wolf at midnight. Sorry, I had to slip that one in because lupus is the Latin word for wolf. Sorry.
So no correlation.
You know, what other misconceptions do they have? That lupus doesn't affect your mental health. Oh, we absolutely can. They have something.
You've explained that, haven't you, with the brain fog? And
exactly. Brain fog, but it can actually attack your brain and cause inflammation in particular parts of the brain. And they call that neuropsychiatric lupus. And that is devastating. Lord, I the last radio interview that I did, I was speaking to a gentleman that was there and he casually, and I get why he did it because I know how he can be, but it nearly made me pull over on the A406 home. I nearly had a heart attack. He casually said that his sister had ended her life shortly after having a baby due to neuropsychiatric lupus. And it's like he said it. It's like,
trigger warning.
Sorry? And it was like, it was because it was after the end of the show and everything was happening. It's like, okay. And I was driving home on the A406. I'm like, what did this gentleman just say? I literally nearly had to pull over on the A406. By the time I got home, I had to sit in my driveway. I was devastated. It's horrible. And these are the things that people do not understand we potentially could have to deal with, because even though at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me like that now, I had a stroke and had to drive home. And there was no reason for the stroke apart from it might have been then the previous hottest day ever recorded in this country. That's it. You don't know. Lupus can be a mix of the slow creeper, and then it can just do something totally devastated in the blink of an eye. You know, so misconceptions, not everybody with lupus is going to look swollen. Not all of us take steroids. You know, oh, misconception. Yeah, we might be able to go out in the sun today, but that don't mean we can do it tomorrow. You know, just understand that our lupus varies literally minute to minute in some states, especially when it's unsettled. So be nice.
Absolutely. Be nice, be compassionate, show some empathy.
Be nice.
Yeah. Good stuff. So we've mentioned the fact that lupus has a particular impact among in the Black community and some Asian communities.
Yes.
Why is it important that we talk about lupus through a cultural lens?
Because at the end of the day, culture, it is now beginning to be confirmed, has an effect on the fact that we have lupus. The cultural and the gender expectations, as I mentioned before, that women face, as I said, because of the insomnia, I will read at night when everybody else has gone to sleep, and I'm going to find something sensible to read, unless I'm on Instagram. But what you get to understand now that, culture and gender expectations are at the basis of a lot of lupus diagnoses. You know, as a Black woman, as an Asian woman, you are expected to carry on regardless. You know, you are expected to put your feelings to the back and care about everybody else. You are expected to be on call 24/7, 365. You're not allowed to have downtime. You're not supposed to say no. That word there, you're not supposed to say no. It's literally sacrilege. How dare you say no? You know, you're not supposed to have any autonomy. Or autonomy that you take for yourself. I can give you autonomy, but I'm giving it to you, knowing that I can take it back. Though that's why it's very important that these conversations happen within our culture, because, for instance, a lady came to one of our events and she said to me, how do I explain fatigue to my husband? Because it's a Black Jamaican lady. He just thinks that I'm playing up, trying to get out of doing, trying to get household chores. I said, has he ever had the flu? She said, yeah. I said, okay, I didn't bother to ask how was he with the flu, because I know you men and the flu is like you have died and come back and died again.
They call it man flu, innit?
It was in his recent memory. That's all I wanted to know. So I said, look, just explain to me. It's like the worst case of your flu, and somebody's giving you an army-sized backpack, and then you've got to be wading through chest-high treacle, and you've got to be doing your everyday living like that. And she looked at me. Okay. And she went home and she told him. And she phoned me literally crying. She goes, Celena, he gets it. He actually gets it. I said, yeah, you have to. It's for you to be able to explain lupus to somebody else and you don't have the slightly demented vocabulary that I have. It's hard. It is hard. It is so, so, so very hard, but as I said, having the conversation, even if it doesn't land exactly how you want to, is the beginning of raising the awareness. So that is where the importance comes in. And as I said, within our communities, we're the ones that are suffering most from it. Most men, I shouldn't say that, no, let me pull that back. A lot of people get diagnosed with lupus on the morgue table.
Wow.
But
I am going to assume that a partner, a spouse, should be a lot more aware, about the condition with their partner, so that they can at least maybe deal with it together, if that's the right word to say.
Awareness comes from understanding, and if the person living with lupus doesn't understand their lupus well enough to be able to explain it to the partner, it's not going to happen. And again, this is why we do the events, because having the events there and just speaking about it, if you come there, or if you even hear a tidbit, oh my goodness, she explained fatigue as blah, blah, blah. Even if you don't have lupus, it's a really good way of having a conversation. It brings the awareness up. It's so very important that the conversations are had. This is what raising awareness looks like, and this is what it does. It causes the conversation to be had. And there's nothing like that, to be honest.
Well, yeah. Oh, important. So I want to ask you about the Lupus Hub and some of your upcoming events. But before that, you've talked about your sister, your sister Tan. Please, you describe her as your ultimate lupus hero. How has her life and her legacy shaped your advocacy?
My sister was all of 4, I say 4 foot. Did Tan get to 4 foot? I don't even think so. My sister might have been all of 4, like 3'10". My sister would counsel grandfathers on the wall outside our house. My sister, she was forthright, to use those words. What you saw is what you got. If her yes was yes, her no was no. And it was unapologetic. Again, lupus, she had lupus. Lupus did not have her. And my dad, 6'3", very, very formidable Rasta man. He couldn't move her. He couldn't move her. And he would tell you, I think the arguments and the dissension that my dad experienced with his 2 daughters, I don't think he got from his sons. It was amazing to see my sister take a hypodermic needle from a nurse who didn't know where to get her vein and said, no, this is where you need to do it. And the nurse is looking at the doctor like, are you serious? And the doctor's in pieces because they've met my sister. Oh, they already know who she is. She was very, not even gregarious, but she was fearless. That part I can say. She was absolutely fearless. I think she knew that her time was limited, and I think she knew when her end was coming. And she lived life absolutely unapologetically. My sister was on the back of motorbikes. She was playing football with the guys, and she couldn't reach anywhere further than their waist, so she would just headbutt them in the waist and run with the ball. She was off. Oh, she was off. So she was the one that really made me, and I know so many other people, understand that life is life, and at the end of the day, you can either live it or you can let it keep you stuck somewhere. So yes.
Well, may God rest her soul. Anyway, so let's talk about Lupus Hub and your upcoming event. So you co-founded the Lupus Hub CIC. So please tell us, what gap were you trying to fill, and why are, again, we've talked about culturally rooted support, haven't we? Again, why is culturally rooted support and advocacy and healing spaces, why are they so important?
The Lupus Hub, the Lupus Hub came as a project initially to raise awareness about lupus. I founded the Chillaxation CIC, which is a plant-based skincare company, simply because when I used to use the shop-bought stuff, my lupus would flare. So I thought, you know what, Celena, this is after I've gone to the hospitals and you just got red slashes through your file. Can't take, reacts badly. So I said, you know what? You better go and try and fix yourself, because obviously it's not really working out the conventional route. So I started to make the skincare, and then my wonderful son had the great idea, why don't you turn it into a business? Which we did. And we started to do vendoring, and you get the questions, oh, why did you decide to create? And you explain, well, I have lupus, as I just did. And it's like, oh, lupus. It's like, yeah, have you heard of it? Yeah. Do you know what it is? No, not really. Oh, Lord. So you start to speak about it, and it's like, what was horrifying, most of the events that we vended at, they were cultural events. I'm talking to Black Caribbean, Black African, Black British people, clueless. However, 9 times out of 10, you will hear, oh, my cousin's got lupus, or a friend had lupus, or so-and-so died of lupus. Okay, do you know what it is? No. And I'm like, okay. So we went for some funding, which we got, and that was for the Lupus Hub, which became a project, and it just took off. Honestly, it really just took off. We created a documentary because there wasn't one, the first of its kind, where 5 Lupus Warriors spoke about their lupus journey on camera, and it's available on the Lupus Hub YouTube channel.
Okay.
And we've done, oh gosh, quite a few cultural events now, including a film, well, the documentary showing Gala. That was amazing. We've done so many different events, and we are now in the last phase, or we're doing the last day of our 3-day Living Well Regardless event. And that event is to help people understand that living with a chronic illness in this particular time with the cost of living crisis is actually possible, because it is affecting us, especially us Lupies, in very different ways than it would be for somebody else. People are thinking, oh my God, now we can go outside and stay in the sunshine. That means our gas bills are lowered, our electric bills are lowered, because we're not in the house and we're not using them like that. A person with sun-sensitive lupus, our electric bills are going to go sky high in weather like this because we cannot manage the heat and we can't go out in the sun. So we've got to be at home. So year round, our electricity bills or our energy bills are always going to be high. So that in itself is a problem. The actual foods that they have in the stores now, it's really problematic. A lot of us, if you've done the work or if you've done the investigations in what kind of triggers your lupus, will realize there are certain foods that will heighten your lupus. The price of those now are going to go into the astronomical realms, and not being able to work, which means that you've got to live on the state. It's not that easy, even though people tend to think it may be. It's not necessarily that easy because it stretches to what it stretches to, So this is why we did the cost of living event. And, it's great because we've had workshops at the moment. We've got Marie from Breadline London. She's done 2 weeks of fantastic financial education workshops. And, she's going to be doing the 3rd one at the event. When we had the World Lupus Day event, which was on the 10th of May last month, this month, beg your pardon, we had different people coming to speak about their, what were they call them? Hybrid businesses. And they're all health-based hybrid businesses, so we had it, well, all of them apart from one. We had IntelliTravel there. We had, oh goodness me, vendors who were talking about gut health. We had so many people there, just giving information about how you can help yourself financially while improving your well-being and your health. We did the Living Well with Lupus workshop there as well, which was amazing. It really gave a lot of insight, again, about what it is to be like living with lupus and other chronic autoimmune illnesses, because other chronic autoimmune illnesses will all come under the umbrella of what a person with lupus can potentially develop. So when I'm speaking about my lupus, I might be speaking about somebody else's rheumatoid arthritis or somebody else's MS or somebody else's ankylosing spondylitis. The symptoms are very familiar. It's just sometimes they're quite localized.
I can imagine. Wonderful. So again, so please, so just to remind the listeners, share dates and times and all that, please.
So the last installment of Living Well with Lupus will be on Friday, the 6th of June. Sorry, brain fog strikes again. You hold on. Yeah, I believe it's Friday, the 6th of June. Oh, let me see. Oh, goodness me. Yes. See? Yeah, not the 6th of June. Beg your pardon. So, yes, the last installment of the Living Well Regardless, which is an event directed and targeted at the males.
Okay.
And it will be on the 5th of June, and that is between 1 and 6 at the Chestnuts Community Centre, and that is 280 St Anne's Road, N for 15, bite your tongue, N15 5, B for Bertie, N for November. Okay. And that particular day, as I said, is going to be aimed at the gents, because, again, a lot of health information tends to be targeted at the females. The men are living really horribly, and finances, the pressures of, the lacking of finances, and that is going to lead to an uptick, which it has led to an uptick in ill health and, not so great well-being. So that event will be targeted at the men. We'll be having a short film showing, and a panel of men just to discuss the short film. And other events. So we're aiming it at the community at large as well. So we'll be having some local community groups coming there, just sharing experiences and letting the men know about the public services that they have available for them and made by them as well. And, just having a wonderful good time. You're going to have food there.
Good stuff,
Maybe a keynote speaker or two. But that one, I think I was definitely passionate about wanting to direct one at men. And I think it's because, unfortunately, your health has been neglected, and the medical mistrust, it's still a very big factor. The ladies are more likely to go because, we know that if things go wrong, we're the ones that's kind of holding the household together. So we're more likely to go. The men won't go. And I cannot judge them for that. I wouldn't, because I've had enough experiences with the medical establishment to understand totally why they wouldn't. However, it is important that you get your health checks somewhere.
But how could you encourage the men to come?
My godson said food and women.
Okay, now. Yeah. I mean, but at least the woman can drag them, bring them,
That's what the advertisement says. Please, women, drag your men. Drag the husbands, the brothers, the nephews, bring them all, because it is needed. It really is needed.
And I think really it's important when you try to relate it to, because so many men, they want to walk down the aisle with their daughter on their daughter's wedding day, or, there are key, life events they want to be present. Everybody really, really wants a long and a satisfying life. So those health checks can be extremely important.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I think also what's really worrying for me, and I mean, you see the trend, and certain, I'm assuming social media influencers, please do not ask me who they are, I don't know. But I've seen a couple of stories where shock, horror, so-and-so found died or found dead, or so-and-so committed or he's taken himself off of the planet. But he was on live the night before, laughing, giggling, and like he was absolutely fine. And it is the case. It really is the case. I mean, I've got a 30-year-old son, and thank God, in that respect, he took from our family, because we are very much of the let us look after ourselves kind of type of family. We know about the herbal medications. We grew under granny, If you don't have that and you don't have access to that as a man, it's horrifying. It is absolutely horrifying. And a lot of men now, especially if they've broken up with their partners, which a lot happened within COVID, they're living solo now. Are you looking after yourself? Have you made you a priority rather than, I've got to make work a priority? That's okay. But if you're not here tomorrow, they'll re-advertise your job. And that's the end of that. So I think
within 24 minutes, 24 hours, that job.
They're posting listen, before you even end up at the morgue, they've posted your job.
Absolutely.
So it's really important that the men understand that their health is a priority and their well-being is a priority, and that can only happen if you're kind of getting a handle on your financial situation, because it is really stressful. So I would really love for the men to come out. As I said, the little short, I watched the film and it nearly had me in tears, because it was one of the most beautiful depictions of three different generations of men and how they interacted. It was amazing, and I think that would be such a wonderful discussion topic to have, because as I said before, even though, yes, as a culture, the women are expected to, be a certain way, that cultural expectation is also on men.
Absolutely.
In a slightly different way, but it's also on men.
Yeah, of course.
And unfortunately, those cultural and gender expectations, they're breaking us. They are absolutely breaking us. The man is supposed to be the provider. He's supposed to be strong. Men don't cry. Who told you that? That's not normal. You know? So yes, I really do hope that, the men do come out and have a wonderful, good time and feel part of the community and understand that there are many organizations out there that are there for them. Made for men, by men, most importantly. I don't think as a man you would want a woman talking at you. No. You know? So yes, that's the event. So that is going to be again on Friday the 5th of June. And that is from 1 till 6. And that is at Chestnuts Community Centre, which is 280 Chestnuts Road. And that is at Chestnuts Road, N15, Lord, IBN. You can see every now and then the brain glitches.
But again, just to help you there, just please share your Instagram handles and your website for more information.
Okay. Our Instagram handles are Lupus Hub at Lupus Hub _.
Okay.
Let me do that again, Lord in heaven. Our social media handles are at Lupus _ on Instagram, the Lupus Hub on TikTok, the Lupus Hub on Facebook, Lupus Hub on YouTube. And the website is www.lupushub.org.
Once searching Lupus Hub would usually bring you up anyway. So just search Lupus Hub on Instagram, on Facebook, and the internet for the website.
I would say maybe not because so there's the Lupus Hub and then there's Lupus Hub.
Okay. So
when yours we created the problem is it's half and half on our case. When we created the website, we searched and there's a lupushub.org.
Okay.
No, let me get it right. No, I think there's lupushub.com. And then there's us, which is lupushub.org. So anything with org after it, that's us.
That's you. All right.
Yeah. Wonderful. Anything with com, that's not us.
That's not okay. Wonderful. And what I'm going to do, because afterwards I always share the replay of this conversation, so I'll make sure that it's got all the right Instagram social media handles. So before I let you go, Celena, please leave one final word for the listeners.
Living well regardless of what you're going through, whether you have a chronic illness or not, starts with taking out time for you. Most importantly, you have to understand you. You have to honor you. You've got to make you your first priority. That's my final word.
That's your final word. Thank you so much, Celena. Thank you for bringing so much wisdom, strength, and humor and hope to the conversation. For the important work that you continue to do through Lupus Hub CIC. So wishing you all the best personally, professionally, and yes, all the best and best.
Yeah, listen, thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.